My name is Karl-Lennart and I'm from Germany, and this is my take on the i3 innovation project from the University of Charleston. Personally, I'm a huge fan of coffee. I got my first espresso machine when I was 16 years old, and since then I couldn't stop drinking coffee. I was always a huge fan of espresso-based drinks, but I also always loved the cold brew, the concept of calmly brewing your coffee overnight and having a. Hi, my name is Karl-Lennart and I'm from Germany, and this is my take on the i3 innovation project from the University of Charleston. Personally, I'm a huge fan of coffee. I got my first espresso machine when I was 16 years old, and since then I couldn't stop drinking coffee. I was always a huge fan of espresso-based drinks, but I also always loved the cold brew, the concept of calmly brewing your coffee overnight and having a chilled drink in the morning. So at one point I asked myself the question if there is a way to combine those two great coffee drinks to make cold brew espresso. The first part of my process to get to the results that I wanted is to look at the coffee market in the world and if there is actually a market for the product. So for example, the average American drinks 4.43 liters of coffee per year per person, which might not seem like a lot, but you have to look at the fact that there are a lot of people that don't drink coffee, and this is just the average. Another interesting fact that is that the market for cold brew coffee in the world is an estimated worth of 1.3 billion US dollars right now. So there's definitely a huge market for cold brew coffee. And the last big thing that I looked into is like what are the percentages of types of coffee that people consume? And the result was that almost 16% of every coffee that the average person drinks is actually espresso. And if we also add the espresso-based drinks to it, like cappuccino, latte macchiato, then we come up with a number of almost 50%. So that means the average person drinks 4.43 liters of coffee per year, and almost half of it is a coffee drink based on espresso. The next step for me was to look into the facts of espresso and cold brew. On the one side, we have the espresso, which brings a super strong flavor, which is kind of bitter, sour, very concentrated, and the foundation of many drinks. There are a lot of great things about espresso, especially it brings out the best flavor and the full flavor of the coffee beans that you try to extract. But I've also met a lot of people, and sometimes I'm also on their side, that think that normal espresso is too strong for them, that you cannot really enjoy the full flavor of it because it is way too intense for them. So espresso brings a lot of benefits with a huge depth of flavor, with a very strong, complex and concentrated flavor. But for some people, this is already too strong and they can't really enjoy it anymore. And on the other side of that, we have the classic cold brew coffee, which naturally brings a milder flavor, is a little bit more fruity, also way more refreshing because of the cold, mild taste. And it has a way lower coffee concentration. It's not as concentrated as the espresso. And it's a big trend right now. Cold brew coffee is on social media and you can see it everywhere. People buy it at Starbucks. It's a huge trend. To quickly understand, normal espresso is brewed by compressing coffee grounds and then pushing water through it with a very high pressure and a very high temperature, which brings out all the flavor, all the oils of the coffee, everything that was inside of those beans. And on the other side, you have the cold brew, which uses the extraction over time. So you put your coffee grounds into water for like 24 hours, and then you filter the coffee out of it, and you are left with the cold brew coffee in the morning. When you look at both of those processes to create the coffee, they look very different, and it's going to be a big challenge to combine them to find a good product that actually brings the best features of espresso and also the best features of cold brew. But first of all, we have to find out what the big goal is what kind of coffee we want to create and call it a cold brew espresso. My goal was to create a very concentrated drink that brings out the strong flavor of the coffee, but is not too intense, that is not too bitter and not too sour, that still brings this fruity refreshingness of the cold brew with it, but you can basically have the cold brew flavor, but way more concentrated and with a different texture. It's supposed to be the optimal foundation for cold coffee drinks like iced caramel macchiatos or nitro cold brews. Everything, it can be the base for more or less every cold coffee drink. The next problem that appears right now is how we can be able to create the cold brew espresso. Right here, you can see my concept of creating this drink. So basically, we have, like in every normal coffee machine, you kind of need a filter to put your grounds in and then push the water through so to separate the coffee from the grounds. And my concept in this machine is we have a vertical filter which is round, has a cylindrical shape and has a lot of small holes in the side of it. This filter is attached to a motor which allows it to spin the very high rotations per minute. You would take your coffee grounds and put them in this cylinder and also add your water to it. And then through the rotation, the water and coffee ground mixture would be pressured to the side of the cylinder where the small holes are. And if the rotations per minute are enough, then there will be a pressure that will allow the extracted coffee to come out of those holes. Through the cylindrical forces, the extracted coffee will be flying towards the walls of the coffee collector, and those walls are cooled down so the coffee keeps its full flavor and doesn't get up to room temperature. The collected coffee will then drip down off the walls, the cold walls of the coffee machine, and will be collected at the bottom and will normally drop out of your coffee machine as it would in a normal portafilter machine. This concept of the coffee machine is also very easily expandable. For example, you could add a system on top that grinds the coffee grounds for you and adds the water on its own. You could do so much stuff with it. You could have a heating unit, so you could also create normal espresso or normal filter coffee. So basically, the concept of this coffee machine is the most versatile coffee machine that has ever been on the market because you can create so many different kinds of coffee. You can create a normal filter coffee if you just let the machine spin on a very slow speed. You can create normal espresso if you add hot water and spin it on a very high speed. You can add cold brew espresso if you add cold water in the cylinder. And you can do so many different things with this concept of a machine that normal coffee machines are not able to make because they are either specified on just making espresso or even those big machines where you can just press buttons and the different kinds of coffee comes out. They are just specialized for the hot coffee drinks. But there are no machines on the market so far that can also produce cold brew or cold coffee drinks. And this would be my take on a machine to create cold brew espresso and also be able to integrate that system into regular coffee machines, to put it in shops, to put it everywhere, to make it very convenient to use and just bring a huge opportunity of creating various kinds of coffee drinks that has never been done before.
The last part of my presentation focuses on the market possibilities, so where to sell the product, who to sell it to, and especially what to do with the concept and the idea. So first of all, there is a huge trend right now that you can see on TikTok and everything, all social media platforms, and it is the home baristas. That a lot of people start to build their own coffee shops at home with a lot of different machines, a lot of different very specific tools, which has never been there before. And I think this machine could bring a very good product to a small niche to help home baristas to have one machine that can do everything on a very high quality level. And the second part of promoting the product is, of course, going to big coffee chains like Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, and also small cafes to promote the product, to let them use the product and see what this thing can do, to also reduce space usage in their coffee kitchens. And this machine will have a lot of benefits to a lot of people, and especially coffee chains.
This was cold brew espresso, the revolutionary coffee drink that has never been there before. Thanks for watching.